G'day guys, Wearman here. Welcome back to the workshop. So I'm going to do a few little comment ones because I've seen a few across the last 6 months or so that have caught my interest. So we're talking tripods, smoke, swarms, sniper positions, AMS, and weapon availability at this point. So this is going to be a little bit of a long one, but hopefully we'll get through it pretty quickly. First of all, though, a quick apology. So normally I will have a screenshot. I'll see a comment and think, oh, that's an interesting one, and I'll screenshot it on my phone and I'll keep it, and then if I ever actually talk about it with anybody, I've got the screenshot there and it's available to quote directly. It would appear that I've upgraded from simply not being able to do maths and rule discussion on camera and graduated all the way to misrepresenting people on the internet. So yay me. All I can say is I either misremembered who said it, misremembered what was said, misremembered how it was said or typed or commented or whatever, or some combination of those. But Mikey, buddy, if I harshed you out at all, I do apologise. That was uncool. I should have had a comment in front of me before I started discussing it. So yeah, I'm sure it wasn't like the worst thing that's happened to you, but if it harshed your vibe, buddy, I do apologise. That wasn't cool. So why don't I move on to some that I actually have the comment in front of me for. The first one was a quick clear up. We did the tripods recently, which I was very, very happy about. I do like tripods. I think they're pretty cool. Someone, where is it? Harakaros. What is not clear for me, how you track legs taking damage. As you twist the torso, the side leg becomes the front, as I understood. So technically no, buddy. So what happens is when you change facing, when you're actually moving and changing facing, that one movement point that you're paying to change any number of hex sides of facing, that is your legs adjusting and bringing the center leg to the front. Okay, so as far as the model is concerned, whichever way you're facing, that is your front leg, and it will always be the center leg on your sheet. Okay, so if you roll center leg, it's that leg. It's if you're facing in that direction, that is your center leg. You can't change facing and then go, oh, well, you're hitting my left leg when you hit center leg. No, it always hits the center leg. Okay, so it's a little bit weird, but if you're facing from the front and you roll center leg, it's always that same leg. Okay, I don't know if that really actually helps, but yeah. It's a little bit of a difficult one to wrap your head around, I think, but hopefully that's clearing it up. Changing your facing doesn't change which leg is the center. Okay, it's always the same leg. So you're always taking damage on that center leg. So yeah, you do have to be a bit careful, but you can't change which one's the center just by changing your facing. Okay, just so we're aware on that one. Okay, where was the other one? Okay, yeah, so Dreadwolf 3155, cool name, buddy. Okay, so this answers the previous question. TC warheads are sick. Why would anyone use any other type of SRM ammo? No drawback, save the ammo explode. Yes, technically that's correct. What you will find though is a availability. Now I'm pretty sure Tandem charge are extremely unavailable. So what you've got is in TAC Ops and Tech Manual, you'll have a whole bunch of long lists of weapons and their data. And in that list, you'll have a tech rating, which includes an availability code. So it'll be for tech rating, it'll be a letter followed by a slash and 3 letters separated by dashes. That's in TAC Ops. In Tech Manual, I think it's just the 3 letters separated by dashes. And what that represents is that weapon, that ammo, that whatever, its availability in given timeline segments. So it's Age of War and everything for the first one, Star League, Age of War, that sort of thing. Then it's the next letter represents the it's the Succession War period, and then the third letter is the clan era, clan invasion era, and everything after that, right? And they're a letter code, and it goes from A to F. A being basically you can go to the shop and pick up a dozen with your groceries if you really, really want to, and down to F, which is practically impossible to get. They're available, but they're practically impossible to get. You have to go through various channels and stuff like that. And then you also have an X, and X means it's unavailable in that time frame. So for instance, the center of that, if you've got, say, XXA, then from the Star League and Age of War all the way up to just before the clan invasion, you could not get this thing. Once you hit the clan invasion, it's an A, so it's completely available, right? Tandem charge, if I remember correctly, is unavailable. Where were you? I had you a second ago. Damn it. I'm pretty sure they're unavailable except for... Nope, that's autocannon ammo. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's listed XXF, which means it is unavailable, completely unavailable until after the clan invasion, and then only very, very, very narrowly available after that. It was XXF. Yep. Okay. Yep. XXE. Okay. So technically they were being prototyped and everything like fairly early on. But the availability, if you go into something like Mega Mech Lab and you say, okay, I'm going to make a 3025 standard tech mech, you're not going to be able to be, you're not going to be allowed to put tandem charge ammo into it. If you're not playing AVE, scenarios that you play don't do that, right? You're not having your scenarios with timeline and tech level restrictions, then you should be fine. You can just put whatever you want in there. If you are playing with timeline and tech level restrictions and you've got, say, 30, 50 and standard tech, you can't have tandem charge. If you've got 3025 and experimental tech, you're not going to be able to have tandem charge. They're just not there yet. Okay, so yes. The other reason is, of course, that some of the other things do cool stuff as well. I mean, if you want to have all critical hit chances all the time, then tandem charge as you go. I mean, if you want to put down the hurt on people with ferrofibrous armor, then acid as you go, right? If you want to muck around with people's heat scale, and Infernos are like supremely available. They're everywhere. They're starting stuff, right? So as long as you're not playing in a tournament, I think you can pretty much take Infernos in any timeline and any tech level. But that, Dreadwolf, is why you don't get tandem charge everywhere all the time. Anyone who's playing a scenario with any sort of tech level or timeline is restricting what you are able to put in there. And to scenario makers, I do thoroughly recommend doing this, at least every now and then. Even with people who aren't really used to it. Just say, well, let's do 30-25 this time, right? Let's do 30-50 and standard tech this time, right? Try out some stuff. Speaking of things that are always available, now there's a few comments here about smoke. One was Harakoros again. How fast does smoke apply? Is it deployed instantly or by the end of the firing turn? So, yeah, it's a weapon which is fired in the weapon attack phase, which means that no matter what ammo you're firing through that weapon, it doesn't take effect until the end of the weapon attack phase. So your smoke doesn't pop up until the end of the weapon attack phase. Unfortunate, but true. Now, it occurred to me that we haven't actually done smoke missiles with the missile ammunition ones that we did. The weapons ready ones with the ammo that we did. I don't think we covered smoke missiles, and I don't think we covered swarm missiles. So, to answer these couple of smoke related questions or thoughts, where was the other one? There it is. So, Maga MH or Major MH or Mage RMH, however you want to do that, buddy. So, connected the Cappy tactic of stealth armor and smoke missiles from large size LRMs. Heavy smoke mucks up to 2 hits when you're standing in it. And yes, it does. And I will say, one, if the Capellans have started doing that, or did start doing that, then congratulations to them. Well done them. If that's all they're doing, then I don't think they've taken it far enough, to tell you the truth, because stealth armor isn't the only thing that you can use in conjunction with other terrain features. And smoke, when you have it there, it counts as a terrain feature, so it's adding its thing to you, right? It's giving you a bonus. So yeah, stealth armor at long range, standing in smoke, you're getting a +4, well, a +3 or a +4, depending on what sort of smoke you've got. So let's look at smoke missiles. Smoke missiles will come in either SRM or LRM. You can fire them through anything that fires standard LRM or SRM. They're pretty much available everywhere. They aren't really used much, though. So their availability code is DDD, which is actually not that available. I mean, they're out there, you can definitely get them all across the spectrum, but not many people use them, so they don't get stocked up much, right? Is the quartermaster type thought here, right? And the reason they don't use these much is because these do not deliver damage. And if you're going to be using an SRM or an LRM, then you want to be delivering damage to the enemy. And the way they've gotten around that is by using smoke artillery shells. Because the artillery are behind the lines and you've got entire trucks full of ammo that you can just park next to the thing and like carry them over, right? So it's a lot easier to justify smoke from an artillery piece than it is to justify wasting a full ton of SRM ammo, for instance, to deliver smoke rather than damage. Do you see what I mean? Okay. So they use the same rules as standard missiles for their launcher and size, with the following exceptions. Smoke missiles can only target hexes. They do not deliver damage, so you can't target them on a unit. You can only target a hex. They fill a single target hex with a column of smoke 2 levels high. The smoke is treated as light smoke if the weapon delivers 5 points or less in damage to the target hex. Otherwise, it's treated as heavy smoke. So if your normal damaging rounds from, say, an SRM2 would normally deal 4 points of damage at maximum cluster, right? Which puts it under the 5, which means an SRM2 will only deliver light smoke with smoke rounds. An LRM 20 deals more than 5 points with a normal shot of damaging ammo, which means you get heavy smoke. Okay, that's fairly simple. Now, these are not based on the optional fire and smoke rules, so they've got their own little thing here that you can use separate to them, right? You don't have to include fire and smoke in your games in order to include smoke missiles, okay? So the smoke dissipates in the end phase of the third turn after the attack. They're incompatible with Artemis, Narc, or Streak, right? So you don't get any bonuses from Artemis or Narc, and I'm pretty sure you can't fire them through Streak, because I think Streak only fires Streak missiles, but I'd have to double check that. Point being, you want to take smoke on a battle. Let's say you want to take smoke to the battle, right? You want to use the smallest damaging weapon that you can get away with and still get the type of smoke that you want. So if you only want light smoke, then an LRM5 or an SRM2 will do it, right? That will give you light smoke, right? One of them will give you light smoke out to, 12? And the other one will give you light smoke out to 21. If you want heavy smoke, then the smallest you can get away with is an SRM4 or an LRM10. If you're wasting your LRM20 shots on smoke, then, I mean, I just said waste there. I've kind of given my bias away. I think that is a waste. I don't think there's any point to doing that, right? What you can get away with is a 10. So the LRM10 and the SRM4 will give you heavy smoke. But if your game's tech level and timeline will allow it, I would thoroughly recommend the MML3. Right, so the MML3 does heavy smoke at short range, and it will give you light smoke at long range. Right, because the SRMs will deal 6 damage normally, and the LRMs deal 3 damage normally. So you've got heavy short-range smoke and light long-range smoke. And I think that's pretty good. I think that works out quite well. And I'm leaning towards SRM smoke because of the way I'm thinking about it. Now, this Capellan tactic of popping smoke and standing there and sniping at things, let's look into that, right? Let's have a think about that. So what would your ideal sniper position be, right? So you'd want to have terrain cover. You'd want to be covered by as much terrain as you possibly get away with and still be able to see the enemy, right? So what you want... Sorry, I got a hot chocolate. What you want is a heavy wood, a light wood if that's all you can get, but a heavy wood would be ideal. So heavy woods with a 1 level high hill in front of you. So you want a rise of ground that sits at knee level in front of you, right? You can stand in the woods and get a +2 from that, and you get a +1 to anyone who's at the same level or lower than you from that low rise, a 1 level rise in front of you, right? And they'll ignore leg hits. If you then raise that whole situation up to the point where your mech is standing above everything else on the battlefield, so the head of your mech is 2. If there's, say, let's say there's a level 4 hill somewhere on the battlefield, right? Or a level 4 building or something like that, right? If you raise your sniper position, 1 level rise and woods and all, up by 2 levels, 3 levels. If you raise it up by 3 levels, then the head of your mech is standing at level 5. So it's sitting at level 5. That means you can see everything on the battlefield, no matter what. The only way they can avoid your line of sight is if they are next to something that is the same size as them and intervenes, so blocks terrain, blocks line of sight, right? So they'd have to be standing right next to one of those level 4 buildings in order for you to not be able to shoot them, okay? So that would be an ideal sniper spot for me, right? That would be a spot where I would put something with a Gauss rifle or my Awesome, or just anything that's got lots and lots of long-range weaponry, right? That, the Viking, all of that Artemis stuff, and just sit still and shoot, right? Now, you can make it even better with this smoke missile tactic. So your smoke missiles, they sit on the underlying terrain, not on any terrain features that are there. So they don't sit on top of the woods, they sit in the woods, which means technically you can pop smoke in a woods hex, then stand your mech in that woods hex and get double the bonus. So if you've got a heavy woods with heavy smoke, as in from an SRM4 or an MML3, you've got a +4. If you've still got that one level extra rise in front of you, then anyone at the same level or lower will also have another +1, and you'll ignore leg hits. So that's 2, 4, 5, and if you've got your stealth armor active and they're at long range, then that's 7. So you're adding 7 to their target numbers. You haven't moved, you haven't got any fancy other stuff, but if you've got your stealth armor active and you've got a low heat, long range weapon, for instance, Gauss rifle, Act 2s, those sort of things, you can sit comfortably there without too much hassle, I don't think. A +7 is pretty full on to anybody. And anyone who's higher up than you, which you're trying not to be, remember, you're trying to be as high as possible, but anyone who is higher up than you is only dropping a +1, right? Even if that rise isn't there, you're only dropping a +1, so you've still got a 6. Now, I would be happy if there was some sort of mimetic armor for mechs. I think some of the polarization shields and things do funky stuff with that, but I haven't really read up on them much. I know mimetic armor, but it's battle armor only, and that's the one that gives you a bonus based on how little you've moved. So if you don't move very much, they can't hit you as easy, right? They get a modifier. And that, I think, is better, but you can't get it for mechs. It's better because it's based on something that you're doing, not on something that they're doing. Right? With the stealth armor, all they need to do is get closer to you. If they can get to within their short range, then you don't have a benefit from your stealth armor anymore. Okay? It isn't something that you're doing, it's something that they can change. You're still going to get the +2 for the smoke and the +2 for the heavy woods, but the point is you want to have it like as available as possible. So yeah, something really, really long range, and you want to ping them from as far as possible away. But yeah, I mean, that's, you take an MML3, load SRM smoke ammo and say some Inferno ammo, and you stand in a woods, heavy woods, and you pop smoke in that woods at your feet, and the SRMs are way better for that sort of situation, because trying to do that with an LRM is, if you're doing it as one unit, you're popping your own smoke, then you'd have to do it before you get to the point. So what's a good example? What's a situation? Let's take a hypothetical here. Get yourself something with a long jump range, something with a Gauss rifle or two, and something with an MML3 and a couple of tons of ammo and stealth armor, and you find a perfect spot, right? Find a perfect spot. Now, you could fire LRM shots from somebody else into that hex that's a perfect spot, and then jump up there and cope with it, right? But those LRM guys they're far better off with damaging ammo, I think. SRMs are the go. So what you can do with this is you bounce up there, you've got a +3 to your shot, right? Fine, dandy, whatever. Even if you're in an average pilot, that's a 7, right? So you bounce up there and you point your MML3 at the ground and you pop smoke in that hex. Now the smoke doesn't take effect until the end of the turn. And remember, this is a weapon, so you can technically miss, okay? So you've got that 7, but you're hitting a hex, so you've got a -4, which means you only need a 3 or better in order to hit. Now if you try that with LRMs, you're opening yourself up to being able to miss. I think you need like a 7, right? No, because if it's at the hex you're standing in, it would be a +6. Yeah, so you'd need a 9 to do it. And it is possible to miss. Your shots can go wild, they can hit rocks and ping off, they can lose guidance, they can just fail to ignite their smoke packs or whatever it is that they do, right? So this is the thing, you want it to go off because it's your cover, okay? So again, if you're trying this, I would recommend SRMs. You can still fire them from range if you want to, right? You can still get range from them, and with an MML, you can still get long range just with light smoke. But you're not wasting the bigger damage numbers, and you're able to pop smoke in the hex you're in without too much fuss. Because remember, this is going away after 3 turns. Right, so you pop your smoke in there. At the end of that phase, you turn on your stealth armor and you hunker down, right? The next 3 turns in the end phase, you make a mark or something like that, and on the 3rd one, that smoke goes away. So after 2, what you want to do is pop smoke again, right? Or on the weapon attack phase of the 3rd turn, you could pop smoke again, right? But you'd have to do that either with one of your LRM units that sat back there that's wasting damage, or you can just point the MML3 at the ground and pop more smoke. And you do that every 3 turns, and you've got continuous heavy cover. Well, you've got continuous heavy smoke, a +2 to the enemy's target number. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, I think the Capellans, well done them, but yeah, I don't think they've taken it far enough, to tell you the truth. What was the other one I wanted to do today? Oh, swarm missiles, that's right. Where are they? Page 371. So these were both on page 371. There they are. Okay, so a couple of things first. The comment for this one was Ogre has layers, 605. Always partial to swarm missiles myself, nothing like triggering literally everyone's AMS with the first volley you fire, then picking each enemy off after and causing general chaos. Yes, and I am tying this in with something else that was discussed as well in the one of the more recent workshops that I did. So Nyandin, sorry. I had mentioned that you could cheese the AMSs of people with the old rules by just firing lower level missiles first and then firing with your bigger ones. To get past that, please just let people choose, right? Just let people choose when their AMS goes off. It's the new rules anyway, you may as well just use it. I'm a bit too set in my way, so I might not, but I think it's probably a good idea. But yeah, so what they've commented. Yes, Total War requires you to resolve all hits across all units before you resolve any damage. This is technically accurate, okay? This is how the ruling is worded. That means you cannot saturate AMS with tiny launchers and then punch with that huge MRM rack. It's yet another rule that adds complexity while being against common sense. Yes, 100%. And I 100% agree with the next bit as well. Honestly, I'm not sure if anyone plays the game like that. They don't. Nobody does. Technically, all of the weapon attacks happen at the same time, which means technically every missile weapon system that's coming at a single unit has to be rolled to hit before you decide which one your anti-missile system is going to take on, right? Technically. Nobody plays that way. Nobody I have ever played with plays that way because it's too difficult. It is ridiculously overcomplicated and pointless, right? If you're running games, then a house rule would be you can choose when your AMS goes off, and that puts the onus of control back on the person with the anti-missile system. If they forget to do it, or if they leave it until one of the big ones and then the big one misses, that's their problem, not yours, okay? And it makes everything just so much simpler. It really does. I would instigate that as a house rule as soon as you can, honestly. If you're not using it already, do so. But the other one was the swarm missiles, and the swarm missiles can technically be used to override, swarm people's AMSs when you use them against groups. They're only effective against a group, right? So these guys they're highly experimental, advanced tech level. They've got an E for their tech rating, and then XX, EXD, and XXD. So there's two different types. There's Swarm and there's Swarm I, which is an improved swarm missile. They are pretty much standard LRMs, but when you successfully hit someone with swarm missiles, you do the same thing you normally do. You make your 2-hit roll, and then you make a cluster roll to see how many missiles hit. But you take a note of how many hit and how many are left, right? And the ones that are left will then try to hit a secondary target. So you fire off an LRM 20 at a big group of enemies. You hit the first person with, say, 5 missiles. There's 15 missiles left. You do your 5 damage to that person, and then you get to attempt to attack a secondary target from among the nearest units, friendly or enemy, in the same hex or in any adjacent hex. Okay? That's standard swarm missiles. If the initial attack missed its target, but possible secondary targets lie in the target's hex or any adjacent hexes, the missiles attack them as a secondary target. They resolve secondary target attacks from the nearest unit, beginning with any units in the target's hex and moving outwards, using the modifiers from the original attack for range, attacker movement, attacker conditions, and weather conditions, but replace the original target's movement and terrain modifiers with those of the secondary target. If multiples lie within the same distance, it's chosen at random. No form of line of sight from the attacker to the secondary target is required. Okay? If the attack succeeds, use the cluster hit column based on the surviving missiles. Right? So, my example, those 5 that hit the first guy are gone. If there's someone either in the same hex, and stacking rules says there can be, if there's anyone in the same hex or in an adjacent hex, then the 15 missiles that are left will make a 2-hit roll against one of them, and then hit them with a cluster of 15. And then say you hit with 10 from that, there's still 5 left. So if there's anyone else in that same hex or in the surrounding hexes, then they'll try again. Your swarms can't hit someone they've already attempted to hit. Okay, so they only get 1 shot at each unit. Okay, so you can't just go round and round in like a 2-hex area and try and hit everybody. But your area can spread. So if someone's within 1 hex of the first target, and then They're like off to the left, and then off to the left of them there's another one within 1 hex, and then off to the left of them there's another one within 1 hex. You can keep traveling along until you actually either run out of targets or run out of missiles to hit the targets. They're pretty damn cool. Now, the emphasis at that first paragraph was on friendly or enemy. They are not discriminatory, right? The swarm missile standard will hit anybody with standard target numbers. The improved models have an additional +2 modifier for attacks against friendly units unless they're operating within a hostile ECM field, or they have a critical hit to their sensors. Okay? So if you've taken a critical hit to your sensors, or you're in an ECM field, they'll just hit you with it as normal swarm missiles. If you're not, then they get a +2, so it's harder for them to hit you, right? They're less likely to hit friendly units. Now, the Swarm and Swarm I don't operate in ECMs. Swarm missiles will become normal missiles, and Swarm I missiles revert to just normal Swarm. Okay? So that's one way around these. If you... Yeah, okay. I already said that. You can't hit the same person more than once with a single swarm, and if you run out of targets, the missiles will just ditch. They just break down. They function normally with like compatible missile systems, but they're incompatible with Artemis, Narg, or Streak. And anti-missile systems function normally against Swarm and Swarm I missiles, which means that you can theoretically launch a couple of LRM racks of Swarm missiles and just overwhelm everybody's anti-missile systems and then come in with some other stuff, which is pretty cool, I think. But if you have an opponent who regularly uses massed troops, things like vehicles in big groups, and like solid fronts of mechs, then swarm missiles will probably be a pretty good addition. If you've got an LRM carrier with like just 1 ton of those things, they can zip through a front line of advancing enemy units and just hurt things, like seriously hurt things. Yeah. I do like swarms. I didn't include swarms in the first batch of missile stuff. Like the swarms and smoke, they didn't get a look in because, I mean, we were talking a lot about missiles, and we would have been there for ages, and there were quite a few that I don't actually have the rules for. Somebody mentioned one that's like an electronic signal tracking system or something, and I know there's like one prototype one in Interstellar Ops, that if you're operating within certain timelines of the BattleTech universe, I think it's prior to 3050, then you get a -1 to your 2 hit for your LRMs. If you're operating after that, they advance the tech and you don't get that minus anymore. Right? So there's some really cool stuff out there. But these guys just got a little bit left by the wayside. Smoke mainly because I like smoke and I think it's cool and I think it works, but 99.9% of the time, something in my brain says you're better off with the damage than the smoke, right? So, but like I said, the MMLs would be really, really good for those. Yeah. I think... Oh, that's only like about 40 minutes. That's not too bad. Hopefully I covered everything. Good Lord. You ripped through that one, Taryn. Look at you go. I might celebrate and have another hot chocolate. Dear oh dear. Alright, that's it. I'm going to go into a few more comments over the course of the next few workshop videos. I've got one I want to do with Adam at some point. It's getting towards the end of October. We're still in the Mythos thing, which is very, very cool. I'm enjoying the Mythos stuff. I'm playing with the deep ones. We've probably seen that on the channel by now. But yeah, I kind of like them. I was playing with Wildborn and I really like them, but these guys are starting to grow on me. So yeah, this and the follow-up ones probably won't come out for quite some time. But if you have something that you like want to have a look at, or like I asked this before and I've seen a few things. I'm going to go into charging at some point because somebody asked about that. I think that was Derek, actually. I'll have to have a look. I want to go into that because apparently it's broken. And I'm like, well, it's powerful. I don't know about broken. I think... Wait a minute, I've got the comment here. Yeah, that was Derek. Okay. So yeah, buddy, I would be... like... I mean, obviously I'm going to record this, the charging thing before you see this, and it'll go up and all that sort of stuff, but I would still be very interested to know what it is at your table that makes charging broken. Like, for me, broken is a pretty full-on word, so, I mean... And anybody else at your table that's listening to these, or that's into the channel and stuff, just point them to this one and put a comment down. Tell me why you think it's broken, and then when we've done the charging one, we can revisit those comments and see what happens. But yeah, so I'm probably going to go into that. I've got Kaiju in my head for some reason. I've discovered that you can actually make an invalid, so you can create, save, and print invalid units in MegaMech which, if you're trying to make a biological unit, it will be. But there are still limitations for MegaMech and the other systems that let you make record sheets, because they are based around a mechanical unit. So there's only so big an engine you can have, right? I can't give a 20-ton unit a too big a movement because the engine can't physically get that big, right? The 400 is the biggest. It's not technically, you need optional rules, but that's the point, is you've got these mechanical limitations on a biological thing. So I think I'm just going to have to make a record sheet. I don't know. I mean, we probably won't play a game with them, but it could be interesting to actually build one and see what it looks like. It'll probably be like in a spreadsheet or something. Oh, dear. Alright, well, anyway, that's enough of me dribbling. I think that's enough. Yeah, that's enough. Put a comment down. Thank you guys very much for subscribing, watching, listening to these dribble fountains all the way through. You stay groovy, and I'll see you in the next one.